So there was a document that was sent to me and apparently was sent to Granny's Watching, but I don't know that Granny's Watching saw it at the time that it was sent. And as soon as I saw it and I saw the names on it, I was like, okay, I recognize, obviously Tony Mathis's name is on it, his wife's name is on it, but the other people mentioned in this document, I knew were his in-laws, meaning his wife's parents, because I know their last name, which is a different last name than Mathis. Obviously, his wife had a maiden name, and this is the name of her parents. So this is the document. All right, this was the document. I cut off the address, okay, of the house, but it is in Oklahoma where Tony lives. This is Tony's house. It's an aerial view of the house. The house was purchased for just over $400,000, I believe. And I don't know how they determine a value of a house. You know, this is like probably from real estate agents and things like that, or people who determine market value. The fact is that the market value of a house, I don't know how people determine the value of a house. The fact is the value of a house is, the tax office determines it. Yes, that's true. They determine the value of a house and property. But sometimes with market value, this is tax, you're right. Market values can be determined sometimes, like if you see on Zillow, for example. It comes from a lot of different ways, and different sources use a lot of different factors to determine market value. Like what are houses on that same street selling for recently, and other factors. Okay, so when he purchased the house, in I believe more than 4 years ago or something like that, or more. I'll find out exactly what they purchased the house 4 or 5 years ago. 2020, 2021. I'll explain that in a minute, but that's not the important part. The important part is that what this person sent me is here. But anyway, you can see here at the bottom, you see this little thing that looks like a red document, a PDF. It says recording date. The recording date of this transaction is the 8th. So the sale date of a house, his house was sold technically on April 7th, 2025, right? That's this month. The recording date of the sale is the 8th. So it's now the 30th. This is, what's 30 minus 7? 23 days ago? 23 days ago, his house was sold. But who was it sold to? When I got this document, I saw, first of all, it's a quick claim deed, which if you don't know, and non-arm's length, if you don't know what that is, I'm going to explain. But the buyer's name I recognized immediately, which is Pritchard, 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 Don and Donna. And I knew that to be the maiden name of Tony's wife, Pritchard. And those are her parents, in my opinion. And the seller's name is Tony and Dana Mathis. And the address that I cut off is the same address that I have as him living at in my records, in my opinion. All right. A quit claim deal is when basically the property is transferred from one party to another without like a formal sale. It's like an informal way of transferring ownership, right? I'm doing a very quick claim for dummies, which I'm a dummy on on this matter. All right, so it's from transferring from one person to another. And in this case, non-arm's length means that there is a family relationship between the two parties. Arm's length means there's not a close relationship, like a family relationship between two parties. Hey, thank you. Hi, CNY. It's not two parties. So non-arm's length means it's a family relationship. And of course, it is his wife's parents and Tony's in-laws. And it was done the 7th of April, 2025, this month. Okay, the price of the house is $1. This is the quick claim transfer. And the price is, Tony and Dana Mathis, right? Grantors in consideration of the sum of $1 and other considerations in hand, and to convey unto Don Pritchard and Dana Pritchard, husband and wife, grantees as joint tenants, not as tenants in common, with the right of survivorship, the whole estate to vest in the survivor. All of the following describe real estate in Delaware County, Oklahoma, which is where he lives, Tony. Okay. Again, that was recorded on the 8th of April this month. Why is that significant that he would sell his house effectively for $1 to his in-laws? Well, because he was in that RICO case, and then there was an anti-SLAPP filed. And it's known basically to most people going into court that if you should lose a case, right? Even if you don't owe, they're not suing for money damages. you still would likely be on the hook for paying lawyer fees and other expenses in relationship to it. And there's a potential for punitive damages in this case. The judge left open the chance for punitive damages, and I can explain how that works another time. But the point is, if you look up what is called what is the term? Fraudulent conveyance? Is it fraudulent conveyance? Right? So sometimes people who are in debt or possibly could go into debt would try to hide their assets by putting them in other people's names and things like that, right? And this was not even 2 weeks, less than that, obviously, before the ruling came out. And Tony might have been concerned that things weren't going to be ruled in their favor, and concerned, possibly, allegedly, in my opinion, there could have been a concern about that, and in order to make sure that his assets are protected, do a quick claim deed to his in-laws and put it in the name of somebody else. And also, it's not his last name too. But if the courts find out that somebody does do that, right? Like right before a ruling, they decide, I'm not sure how this is going to go. Let me quickly sell my house to my in-laws for $1 to put it in their name. And the court finds out you do, and they rule against you. And now you owe money, which they all do. Tony now owes money, and as do all the plaintiffs in that case, to the defendants, Barbecue Lady and Granny's Watching, and their attorneys. It would be, they call it fraudulent conveyance because it's like you're covering up. It's like, I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that they call it fraudulent conveyance, right? And the court has the capability of reversing that reversing that transaction. So if the court finds out that he did that, they could say, you did that on purpose to try to keep the victors, in this case, from having access to your assets to pay back your attorney's fees. Therefore, that transaction that you did for $1 with your in-laws is null and void. Even if it is a court in Pennsylvania, they can void that transaction in Oklahoma and say that was not legal. It's if the judges determine it's suspicious and it was an attempt to hide assets, so you don't have to pay back money, it's against law. And it's really a civil matter. So if they determine that he did that, they could void that, meaning the deed would go back into the name of Tony and his wife. And not only could that property still be used to recoup money, potentially, if the two women's attorneys would choose to do so, they could also file another lawsuit, basically to get punishment for that person making the attempt to hide assets in a civil case. So I'm going to use its word. That's my word because it's my personal opinion. The timing of this, just the same month, days, not even 2 weeks or less. I don't know. Was it 10 days before the ruling? If the ruling was on 18, it was like 10 days before that this was done for $1. It looks, in my opinion, suspicious. It looks, in my opinion, like somebody's trying to hide assets. If it's done 10 days before a court ruling. Now, they might not have known it was 10 days, but they knew it was coming soon, right? I mean, they didn't know necessarily I don't know if they knew exactly the date the judges were going to rule, but they knew they were going to rule. So if it was going to be ruled 10 days or going to be 20 days or even 30 days, it was coming. And it looks really suspicious and something that the courts say is illegal to do.